Hi, everybody. Welcome into your Thanksgiving Start Sit live stream. I'm Dan Harris. As you can see, I'm headed back for seconds already, even though it's only 11 o'clock in the morning here in the East Coast. This is my son, Will. Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Will really loves when I come on for live streams and videos and podcasts because I have no rules. It's Thanksgiving. Can do what I want. Okay. So Will is in a fantasy league, in our FantasyPros Kids League. We are starting somebody. Who are we starting? Both in my league and in your league today. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember his name.
Starts for the Texans.
I forgot.
Duke
Johnson.
Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson is our running back. So if you look on the side of the screen, you can see that I have a couple of starts and sits for Thursday. So, okay, sorry. Apparently I've... Ooh, hold on one sec. Sorry about that. I accidentally left on an old scroll bar. I'm doing it myself. It's Thanksgiving. What do you want now? Hold on. I'm just checking to make sure that's okay. Hold on one sec. Let me just check. Okay, let's see. All right, DeAndre Swift is now officially out. He is officially out for the game. All right, so he's done now. Out for the game. Get him out of your lineup. So let's talk a little bit about the Thanksgiving games, and then we will get into all your start-sit questions if you get from now, okay? Are you good with that? Okay, let's start with the Lions game. So what are we doing now with DeAndre Swift out? As you guys probably know, this is basically the absolute best possible matchup that you can get for running backs on both sides of the ball here, right? But Adrian Peterson, Kerryon Johnson, they're not really options that we want to start. So I like to do when Will comes on, I like to let Will tell everybody where I have them going. So Will, Kerryon Johnson is a running back for the Lions. Where do you have him?
36.
Okay, and let's check Adrian Peterson. Okay. Sorry, I'll let him do this, guys. It's Thanksgiving. Where do I have him?
38.
So I have them at 36 and 38 in my running back half PPR rankings. Now, Kerryon Johnson's going to rank a little higher than that when we get to PPR, because he is going to factor into the passing game, certainly more than Adrian Peterson. So with that, those aren't guys that you really want to get away with starting if you can avoid it, okay? They're probably going to get some volume, of course, because Kenny Golladay is out. You know that the Texans are, you agree with that? You know that the Texans are going to be able to move the ball pretty easily through the air. We'll get to the ground in a second. But in the end, you can't rely on either of these guys because you've never been able to rely on them. So flex plays, deep flex plays, I'm fine to roll with it. But this is one where I'm going to evaluate more of the situation rather than the matchup, okay? Because the matchup doesn't get all that much better. But still, I'm going to avoid if I can. As for Duke, Duke is 24th in my running back rankings, I believe, after my update. Yeah, I don't want to start Duke Johnson. Will is forced to start Duke Johnson because the running back landscape isn't good, right? So am I in a league. Now, let me tell you one of the things how I'm playing this right now. In a league, I have several running back options, okay? James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Gio Bernard, and Duke Johnson. Duke, it's a lot. 5. He likes it. Only 3 spots, of course. 2 running backs and a flex for me. You don't even have a flex in your league. But it's right on the border as to whether or not I'd start Duke Johnson. But I have to start Duke Johnson right now because, guys, we are in COVID land. Big time. Okay? That's where we are right now. You saw the Browns have another positive test. You saw the Ravens still have an outbreak. In my opinion, that game is legitimately potentially going to be postponed. That's the deal. I'm not expecting it to be postponed, but I cannot sit here and confidently say that they're going to play. So if I'm close, I'm starting someone like Duke Johnson. Let me name a couple of guys who are over Duke Johnson right now. I'd rather start Damian Harris. I'd rather start Wayne Gallman. I'd start Gus Edwards, but if I'm sitting there and those are my only 2 options, I'd probably just go ahead and start Duke Johnson. I'm starting Duke Johnson. I have him 1 spot ahead of Jonathan Taylor, 2 spots ahead of Ronald Jones, 3 spots ahead of Giovanni Bernard. So that's where we are at that point with Duke Johnson. Let's talk about the quarterbacks in the Thanksgiving matchups. Deshaun Watson, a very, very obvious start in this one. Yeah, you agree. Okay, can you read the names of the quarterbacks I would start over Deshaun Watson?
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson.
That's it. Those are the 4. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. Other than that, you are starting Deshaun Watson, but you know that.
Why is Josh Allen number 1?
Because I have Josh Allen ranked as my number 1 quarterback this week.
I like number 2.
He thinks he should be number 2. To be fair, you made a couple of great calls in your league. Saints defense last week, right? You really won that. And Mike.
I was versus number 1. So
that's true. He looks at the Yahoo matchups in his thing. And Mike Williams over Jacoby Myers last week. Great. I probably didn't have it ranked that way, but whatever. So Matthew Stafford, 17th for me. Okay, I am starting Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan over Matthew Stafford. There's no Kenny Golladay. Okay, you can obviously pass on the Texans, but there's no Kenny Golladay in this game. Stafford still has the thumb injury. They'll probably need points. He's a mid-range QB2, but again, it's not somebody who I'm looking to start. Jared Goff, I would start Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff against San Francisco, over Phillip Rivers against Tennessee, over Ryan Tannehill against New Orleans. So he's in the mix there, but he's not.
Yeah, they're versing New Orleans.
Correct. He asked to come on. Okay, it's me or nothing. All right, I set the bar low. This is where we are. Okay, so you know about the running backs right now. I'm not really starting Kerryon Johnson or Adrian Peterson if I can get away with it. I am starting Duke Johnson as a very low-end RB2. It's worth noting, Tags likes him more. I think Tags had him 17th or 18th. So get away. We can commiserate together on Twitter. Dan Harris 80. All my rankings can be found there, by the way.
Ooh, Tom Brady's 10th.
Tom Brady's 10th. That's all he really cares about. Patriots fan. Number 1. Yeah, great. Now a Bucs fan. Okay, let's talk about the wide receivers. You know you are absolutely starting Will Fuller. You know you are starting Brandon Cooks. Will Fuller is 12th. Brandon Cooks is 20th. There's just the Lions are not good against the pass. They play a lot of man. That's going to factor into basically letting Deshaun Watson do really whatever he wants. Both these guys are basically in the must-start territory. Will Fuller, certainly. Brandon Cooks, always at least a must-start as a wide receiver 3. But in this matchup, he's a wide receiver 2. You're starting them both with confidence. Marvin Jones, look, you're starting Marvin Jones. I still have him 31st, okay? He's the only game in town. Bradley Roby, he shadowed a lot early in the season. He hasn't shadowed as much since he came back. He's probably going to shadow here because what else is he going to do at this point? Who else is, right? You don't know. He doesn't know. He's not going to take on Marvin Hall or Cephas. It's probably going to be Marvin Jones. But that said, it's Thanksgiving. Marvin Jones scores a touchdown on Thanksgiving. He's a wide receiver 3 for me who you can get away with. At tight end, you okay? TJ Hawkinson, 3rd-ranked tight end. Who are the 2 tight ends I would start over TJ Hawkinson?
Travis Kelce and Darren Waller.
Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. That's it. I'm starting.
Travis Kelce.
I know.
You have him.
I do have him on one of my leagues. This kid knows everything about my teams at this point. He's over Mark Andrews. He's over Dallas Goedert. He's over Hunter Henry. That's where I'm going.
Hunter Henry.
Yes, I know. Hunter Henry's 6th in my rankings. He likes Hunter Henry. Jordan Akins, 20th in my tight end rankings. If I knew that the Texans were going to feature the tight end position a lot more, I would definitely know. Oh, I'm sorry. The graphic on the side, my producer is my buddy who I was not supposed to even be here today. He is working on Thanksgiving. His name is Chris. If you appreciate what Chris does, subscribe to the YouTube channel or give this video a like. Look, Will and I are here on Thanksgiving giving you the best advice we can. Give my man Chris a little like. The graphic on the side of the stream shows my start sits for Thanksgiving. That's correct, I believe. So I have my starts, I have my sits. If he's not in there, it's in between. Okay, you're good. Jordan Akins, again, 20th. If I knew the Texans were going to focus on the tight end, I would be more than happy to start him. But they don't. You really, with the Lions, they're not even terrible against tight ends. But they do, if you can score a touchdown, Akins is going to be good. I don't expect him to put up the yardage like he did last game. So 20th, mid-range, tight end 2. Let's get to the late game. Then we'll get into just your start-sit questions. For the weekend, for today, whatever you got, it's good. Quarterbacks, for the late game, you're not starting either one of them. I mean, it's not a great matchup for either one of them. Regardless, you're not starting Alex Smith under any circumstances. I mean, for me, he's 26th in my rankings. He's outside the range of QB2. You know that. Alex Smith, we know what he is at this point. There's very little upside. For Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco is my last ranked quarterback. He wants you to know that. Andy Dalton, 24th, so the bottom of a QB2. Washington is fairly tough on pass catchers. Dalton is not a terrible guy to have on your roster because I do think he can provide value rest of the season. But in this one, you don't have to stay if you don't want, bud. You just like it? You like to be a part of it? Come here, look. Oh, there we are. Look, see, that's a little delayed, so you're not going to see it on that, okay? Don't worry about that.
What's it?
This is the actual YouTube, okay? I'm sorry. The YouTube, when I actually watch the stream, it's a little bit delayed. So he is now looking at himself, and it's delayed, and it's very fun for him. Anyway, I've got to pull up my rankings. I'm sorry. Okay, for the running backs here, of course, starting Ezekiel Elliott. He is my 8th ranked running back. I'm starting him over Miles Sanders. I'm starting him over Mike Davis. I'm starting him over Kareem Hunt. I'm also starting him over my 12th ranked running back, and that's Antonio Gibson. But that's an RB1 this week, okay? He's a guy.
Start Derrick Henry.
He would start Derrick Henry. If you have Derrick Henry, you should start him this week.
Or Dalvin Cook.
Or Dalvin Cook. Both those guys, pretty solid starts this week. Thank you. You're providing value to them on Thanksgiving. The best. So, look, I would start Antonio Gibson, no questions asked in this one. I wish he got more of the volume. He doesn't, but he gets enough. He's probably going to find the end zone, but regardless, he's going to get the opportunity to find the end zone. So he's certainly a guy who you lock in your lineup at this point in the fantasy season. Somebody who I'm not locking in my lineup is J.D. McKissic, and you can see that he is a sit if you look over to one of my sits. If you look over to the right or left of the screen, I don't know which way it is. So here's the deal.
Smith?
Yeah, J.D. McKissic. Can you see? Yeah, Alex Smith is a sit, of course. J.D. McKissic, he's 31 in my half PPR rankings. The bottom line is this. You saw him get 29 targets over those 2 games. Andy Dalton's a sit, man. You saw him get people. There's a lot of people watching this. Some of them probably think you're adorable, but, some of them probably are like, just give me my advice. Be quiet. So not you, me. Love you. You're good. Anyway, so look, J.D. McKissic is 31st in my half PPR rankings, okay? It's totally game script with him, okay? If they fall behind, he'll line up in the slot a lot. He'll get tons of targets. You saw what happened in this most recent game where they didn't fall behind, and he didn't get that many targets. It's a little... I'm hesitant to rely on a game where the spread, I believe, is 3 points. Even if they're behind, I think it's going to be close. I just don't expect him to be, get close to double-digit targets. That's why he's 31st for me on the day. That's a guy you can start as a flex. In PPR leagues, he'd be higher. He'd probably be more like the 27, 26 running back. But for me, right now I have him ranked behind Frank Gore. Frank Gore, yes. Frank Gore is almost as old as I am, and he plays for the Jets. So Will would definitely start J.D. McKissic over it because avoid all Jets.
I would start Kyle Edwards-Helaire.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You were very close. That was good. I would also start Clyde Edwards-Helaire over. You're good. Over J.D. McKissic. But again,
Will Fuller the 5th.
Yes, Will Fuller the 5th. Correct. He's a start today. Terry McLaurin is an obvious start. You know you are starting Terry McLaurin. He's my 7th ranked wide receiver. We don't really need to go into that. If you have him, he's definitely in your lineup. Amari Cooper is 25th for me. So that's a start as a... What are you doing? As a borderline wide receiver too. Okay? Look, Washington is pretty generally tough on wide receivers. I don't expect this to be a giant day, but you've seen Cooper, generally speaking, get the targets with Dalton there. So he is 25th. He is a guy who I'd roll out there. I would also roll out CD Lamb. You okay? Not too high. 28th CD Lamb. Yeah, you liked him. You dropped him. I know. Will dropped him. It's crazy. CD Lamb. Yeah, 28th for me. Okay, so both guys are in the wide receiver 2, borderline there, wide receiver 3 range. So you can get away with both. You're not starting any other receiver. You're not starting Michael Gallup. You're not starting Steven Sims. Avoid everything else. Don't ruin your Thanksgiving. For tight end, you okay? Mm-hmm. For tight end, I do not have either Logan Thomas or Dalton Schultz as startable options, but I have Schultz 15th and I have Logan Thomas 17th. Both have a shot to find the end zone. Both have a shot to get more than 6 targets. And if so, you're going to want to necessarily start them in that case. But we don't really know that that's where we're going to be. So let's get to some start, sit questions. Okay. Keep them coming, guys. My producer, I did not expect him to be here. He is here. He is crushing it. From JMD, Moss or Connor standard. Look, because that is both games are on the weekend, you're obviously starting Connor, okay? James Conner and Zach Moss are not in the same tier of running backs. If it were today, if you had to make your choice today, maybe I could see going Moss because I think, again, there is a legitimate chance that game's going to get postponed. But no, you can't have this coffee. But I know he wants to drink my coffee every time. But for this one, you're certainly starting Connor, not in the same tier. From Robert Moore, Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz? You want to answer that? You want to look at my rankings and let me know about Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz? Okay, what do we got?
Matt Ryan's 13 and Carson Wentz is 16.
That was
start Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan is the start. Matt Ryan 13th, Carson Wentz 16th. Right now I'm ranking it as if Julio Jones plays, and maybe not a full complement of snaps, but plays at some point. If he doesn't, it will probably be closer, but it's still at the point where I'm just not comfortable relying on Carson Wentz anymore. All the whispers about him being benched, don't push down the thing, okay? I don't expect him to be benched, but you still want it. You like this? You like answering questions? Do you want to stay here? You can go practice football, and then we can play when I get back. Oh, are you coming in too to the live stream? Come here.
Oh, it's a live.
Yeah, come here. I'm sorry, guys. This is what we do. I promise I will answer questions. Coming up. Come get your head in here.
But I thought it was on your
No, don't touch the mic. No, it's not on my phone. That's the Instagram live that I do every Sunday, 10 to 11. Subscribe on Instagram. So here, come say hi.
I already did.
Oh, okay. She's good. That was my daughter, Sophie. Mom is working out in the basement. Is Mom working out? Is that where she is? Okay, cool. So they're bored. Don't worry, though. We're still going. The dog's over there, too. He may pop up and make a... No, don't get him up. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I will go with Matt Ryan there. From Victor K, PPR, Amari, Julio, or AB, happy Turkey Day. Happy Turkey Day to you. So here's the deal. If I knew Julio Jones was playing, Julio Jones would be the top choice. I have him ranked the highest right now, but I don't think that you can... What? Okay. You can't...
Tyreek Hill's number 2.
Tyreek Hill's number 2. Yeah,
him.
I know. He has Tyreek Hill. But you can't rely on Julio Jones because we don't know if he's going to play. So for now, I would play Amari Cooper in this Thanksgiving matchup because you got to make the decision right now. Better safe than sorry. Yes.
Why are all of the even numbers white and all of the odds like brownish?
I don't know, man. That is our system. This is the FantasyPros ranking system, which is looking at. The one thing I will say is that Antonio Brown for me is 30th. Okay, he's not that far off Amari Cooper. So bye, bud. Thanks. Okay, we're alone now. Let's get down to business. So if you did want to wait for Sunday, you could get away with, if you only had to start filling in Antonio Brown, if you didn't if you didn't want to wait, if you didn't want to risk starting Cooper right now. They're not that far apart in my rankings, but I'd probably just go with Cooper. He's a good start today. From RMC, Rashard Mendenhall or Mike Tolbert. Mendenhall was great when he played for like that one season where I basically put him in my lineup. Didn't have to worry about it, so I'll go with Mendenhall. From Awesome Austin, Deshaun Watson or Josh Allen. As I said, that's one of the few that I would actually bench Deshaun Watson. One of the few. Josh Allen, my number 1 quarterback on the week. From Bob Moore, would you start Duke Johnson or wait for Ahmed or Carson? All right, so this is one where I would wait. You have double the options. I am pretty confident that Chris Carson is going to play in this one. I don't know necessarily whether or not Myles Gaskin's going to play. He is practicing. Ahmed missed practice earlier this week. But if you have both those options, there I would probably wait because I do have both currently ranked ahead of Duke Johnson. And again, this might be the game for Duke Johnson. I don't know. But I feel like I'd be willing to allow myself to miss out on it and let it happen on my bench, and I'd be okay with that. From Michael L., any updates on Adam Thielen? No. Look, here's the deal with the COVID testing, okay? If you are symptomatic and you test positive, 10 days, which means he would be out this week. But if you are asymptomatic, 5 days, if you get 2 tests, I think they're 24 hours apart after that, and they're the real test, not the rapid test. He had a positive test, but I believe he's asymptomatic. He's already had a negative test. He is not ruled out for this weekend. We won't know that until closer to this weekend. If you got to make a decision based on somebody now, just go ahead and do it. Get wrecked. Get your points, especially with COVID, by the way. Get your points. We do not know whether or not every game's going to be played this weekend. So get your points now if you can. From Michael Wilson, would you start Mostert or Gaskin? Look, I'm not absolutely confident that Gaskin's going to play in this game, and I'm not willing to make that call as of this moment of who I would start there because I want to hear what the Dolphins coaching staff is going to say. Okay, if the Dolphins coaching staff says this is going to be Gaskin, he's playing, Ahmed is out, or it's going to just completely be Gaskin's backfield, I would rather roll with Gaskin. For now, though, I would lean Mostert because I do think even in a tough matchup that he's going to get more work, and I don't expect Gaskin, if he does play, I certainly don't expect him to get, the huge line share of the carries or anything like that. From Tegan Wild, would you start Juju or Tyler Boyd? This is tough, and we have to monitor Juju Smith-Schuster's health going on. But right now, I have Tyler Boyd 33rd, and I have Juju Smith-Schuster 38th. You know it's not a great matchup for the receivers. You don't usually bench the Steelers wide receivers regardless. But it is something where against the Giants, and I feel a little more comfortable with Brandon Allen than I did Ryan Finley with Tyler Boyd. I moved him up a couple of spots. So I would lean Boyd in that scenario, but it's close. From Anthony S., would you go Ridley or Fuller in full PPR? this is pretty close. I really would not like to bench Will Fuller, but I can't avoid Calvin Ridley. Certainly not in a matchup with Las Vegas. Certainly not in a matchup where we might be looking at Julio Jones. Probably your best case scenario is Julio Jones is on a pitch count, even if he plays. So it is something where I can't get away from Ridley in that matchup, even for somebody like Will Fuller. For Dylan Bunch, Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson, and Montgomery, pick 2 in half PPR. All right. Part of the problem, of course, is that we don't know necessarily who the quarterback is going to be in Chicago. We think it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky, which, I don't know, that might be a good thing for Allen Robinson. We don't really know exactly how it's going to look. I would start Deontay Johnson because I have him ranked ahead of Robinson anyway. Between the other two, it's close, but I lean Robinson in that matchup. Again, I'm in half PPR. I expect him to get... By the way, I want you to know, I'm going to say this out loud. I hope they're watching. My entire family, at least my in-laws, my brother-in-law Kevin, my sister-in-law Laura, my father-in-law Bill, my mother-in-law Sue, they're all watching right now. And they're saying, where are you? Come have Thanksgiving. But no, I'm here for you. I'm here to do some fantasy football. Screw Thanksgiving. I'm kidding. I love you guys. Thanks for watching and texting me nonstop about this. Okay, so anyway, I'd bench Montgomery in that situation. I like him. It's against Green Bay. It's great. With the half PPR, I would lean towards Robinson and Deontay Johnson. From Mike Clark, Marvin Jones, 75 yards, over or under. You know what? I'm going to give you my exact projection for Marvin Jones because I do projections. I have under 75 yards. I'm almost positive. Let me just check exactly what my projections are for Marvin Jones. 64 yards. 64 yards. So I'm going to go under, but he's probably going to score like 8 touchdowns. So get ready for it. From Mary Rizzolo, 1 point PPR. Would you prefer Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods? Legitimately, they're back-to-back in my rankings. So you can pick whichever one you want because essentially it's almost the same as with the Steelers wide receivers where I just sort of say, okay, whatever. But forcing me to choose, I would go Cooper Kupp. Lots of people are asking, would you rather start Tua Tagovailoa or Taysom Hill? You know, the answer here is not that close, and I'm surprised that so many people are asking. You're starting Taysom Hill. I know Denver, just never a great place to be, but Tua really hasn't given you any reason to want to start him. I understand it's against the Jets, and they are terrible against the pass, but Tua really, what has Tua shown you to suggest that he can be a decent fantasy quarterback at this stage? He's also battling whatever it was, the thumb injury. I'm going Taysom Hill. It's not that close. Hill, you can guarantee, is going to give you a high floor because of the rushing production, even if he doesn't score the touchdowns. So I would go ahead, not hesitate. Everybody who's asking that, I would go without question with Taysom Hill. For Ruben Serrano, Woods or Julio, this is almost, unless somehow Julio is miraculously deemed 100%, I'm going with Woods at this point. Julio is somebody who, if he's active, you probably start. I expect him not to be active, by the way, but if he is active, you probably start, but not over guaranteed options like Robert Woods. From Robert Moore, which RBs should I sit? CH, James Conner, Miles Sanders, or James Robinson? Okay, so you're starting James Robinson and you're starting Miles Sanders. Just, they're basically not at the point where you even question whether or not to bench them. Right now, I have James Conner higher than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's a terrible matchup for Edwards-Helaire, of course. We talked a little bit about it on yesterday's mega podcast. James Conner against Baltimore, it's a little up in the air. It's actually, in some ways, it's beneficial that it was pushed to Sunday because I think the Steelers will be more willing to give him a bigger workload. They're pretty protective of him. On the negative, it's possible that Brandon Williams will be able to play. It's possible that Calais Campbell will be able to play. That's really going to strengthen their run defense. But for right now, I would bench CEH in that scenario. From Ben Dodds, Damian Harris or Savon Ahmed. Look, this is, again, something where we don't know what the situation is. If Myles Gaskin is out, I am starting Ahmed. If Myles Gaskin is in and they're going to in some way split carries, I'm going to go with Damian Harris there. So you want to monitor that situation. Gaskin is back practicing, so he definitely could be somebody, you know, if he plays, you can't start Ahmed over somebody like Damian Harris. From Corey Woodman, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Corey Woodman. Thanks for joining us. I can't believe how many people are here. It's awesome. I love it. Okay. Justin Jefferson, Godwin, or Robbie Anderson, flex, full PPR. This one, for me, is not that close, and it's Justin Jefferson against Carolina. Especially, you've got the questions with Adam Thielen. He may not play. Jefferson doesn't always get the targets. Remember, his targets the last few games, 4, 4, 10, 5. I get it. So it's a little worrisome in full PPR. But still, at this point, I would rank him higher than Godwin, who, again, had a very good game here. KC, it's probably going to be a shootout, but they are okay against the pass. So I would rather go with Justin Jefferson there. From Miranda N, Nelson Aguilar or CeeDee Lamb in half PPR? Aguilar is a really tough one because he finally got the targets in this last game. Could have had a monster game. He dropped so many passes. But I would here go with Lamb. I have Lamb ranked higher. Lamb, look, he hasn't gotten the targets that much, but you saw the touchdown, how talented he is. He'll get enough here where I feel comfortable starting him. Aguilar has been largely touchdown dependent. If he's only going to get 2 or 3 targets a game, I can't confidently rely on him. If I knew he was going to get the big targets like he got this last one, I'd be fine. Aguilar is more like a borderline wide receiver 3. Lamb is more in the wide receiver 3. Plus, let's have some fun. It's fantasy football. If you've got something, let's root for it on Thanksgiving. From Brandon Coate, full PPR, questionable Terry McLaurin or Devontae Parker. McLaurin is going to play. Rappaport basically tweeted it out. He is a must start. He is my 7th ranked wide receiver. No hesitation here. Get him in your lineup. From Bamboozled, Chase Edmonds or Gus Edwards. Oh, you've asked 2 questions. Chase Edmonds or Gus Edwards. And you also want to know Rager or Fulgham. Okay, both are very good questions. I don't know your format in PPR for the running backs. It would be close, but other than that, it's Gus Edwards. Assuming that Dobbins and Ingram are out. Remember, I'm assuming that they're going to be out. If you have symptoms, it's 10 days. I don't know if they have symptoms, but essentially that's the guard against a false positive test. Given the outbreak, that's with Baltimore. I assume it is not a false positive test, and they are going to be out this weekend, in which case I would go Edwards. You saw what he did to the Steelers the last time they played. I believe it was 16 for 87 and a touchdown. That was with splitting work. He's not really going to have to split work unless it's with Justice Hill. So I would feel pretty confident rolling him out there as kind of a low-end RB2, even in half PPR leagues. Chase Edmonds is a little lower than that, given that Kenyon Drake returned and looked good and factored into the passing game a little more. For Rager or Fulgham, man, I hope this is a game where they both go nuts against Seattle in that passing game. I'm not relying on either one. If forced to choose one, I will go with Rager just because he's been more consistent now over the last couple of games. I don't know why Fulgham isn't getting... I mean, he got 7 targets last game. He only had the 1 catch. Carson Wentz is playing so terribly. So, regardless, I would go with Rager, who I think has the higher floor here. It's not by a huge difference. I have Rager 43. I have Travis Fulgham 48. So, you can go. From Joshua Slate, Will should replace tags full-time. Okay, thanks. Will just goes by his gut, though. He doesn't do projections. Sometimes I show him projections, and he's like, those are terrible. And I'm like, whatever. You don't get any Christmas presents this year. That's how I roll as a father. Thank you, though, Josh Slate. I will definitely tell him that. And you're right. JJ, Amari Cooper or Jarvis Landry, half PPR. No. Not close. Amari Cooper. Start him up. Jarvis Landry at this point is like borderline wide receiver 3. They just don't throw enough. Even with Odell Beckham Jr. out, I'm not relying on him if I have any sort of competent option that I can get in there. So I will go with that. Santiago, Fuller or Allen Robinson? Okay, that's close, but that is where sort of, I forgot who the question was. I think it was Ridley versus Fuller. That's the line where you're going to go. Robinson is a great, great talent. He just doesn't have the quarterback play. We don't know what the cornerback situation is going to look like for Green Bay. Is Jair Alexander going to try to stick on Robinson? Regardless, start Will Fuller. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Fuller or McLaurin? From Cody Welling. Fuller or McLaurin standard? Ugh. Man, I don't like any question where the answer is bench Will Fuller, but I guess bench Will Fuller. In this one, I have McLaurin slightly higher, even in standard. But they're both amazing starts. I wish you could start them both and find somebody else to bench. From Method Full, Brandon Cooks or Antonio Brown, full PPR flex. I will go with Brandon Cooks in this matchup. It's really difficult for me to see a scenario where both Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks aren't like very, very solid starts. I won't say the word smash start because apparently I say that too much. Sorry. Solid starts here. Again, Antonio Brown, he got the targets, but if you looked at the snap count, he actually played pretty significantly less snaps, fewer snaps than both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So for me, I will take sort of the bird in the hand, and I will take Brandon Cooks in that scenario. From Lucas Weber, Gio or Gus? Gio is obviously dealing with a concussion at the moment. He was out, I think, the last couple of drives where I'm looking back. We didn't know he had a concussion at the time, but I think he missed that. So Certainly, you have to monitor the status. In full PPR, I would go with Gio because I do think he's going to factor in. But they're looking, seems to get Samaje Perine more involved a little bit there. So in half PPR and standard, I would rather go with Gus. From Alex King, Duke Johnson, Kerryon Johnson, or Nyheim Hines in PPR. All right, PPR, let me check my PPR rankings just for you. For PPR, I still have Duke Johnson the highest. Sorry. Still got a half hour, by the way. Keep them coming. I would still go with Duke Johnson. I know. But you know that we don't have any idea what we're going to get from Nyheim Hines. Would it surprise me if he had a 2-touchdown, 8-catch, 75-yard game? No. Would it surprise me if he got 2 touches for 3 yards? No. So I don't want to rely on him. As for Kerryon Johnson, if you're forcing me to choose a running back in this game, it's going to be Duke. I get it, but we just don't know exactly what it's going to be. Kerryon did not have a good game in this most recent one. I would just rather go with Duke Johnson, even in PPR. From RRC, would you go with Stafford, Rivers, or Cousins? I do have Stafford ranked the highest of that group. It feels dirty. I have Stafford 17th, I have Rivers 19th, and I have Cousins 22nd. Again, part of that is that the uncertainty with Adam Thielen. If I knew for sure Adam Thielen would play, I would probably have Cousins right there with Stafford, and it would be a little bit of a coin flip. For now, I'd probably just start Stafford. I don't feel great about it. He had one of his worst games last week, one of the worst games of his career, or like a bottom 10% game, just with his yards per attempt, with his accuracy. He's got the thumb issue. He's got no Kenny Golladay, but the Houston defense is so poor, and they're going to need to put up points. So I do have him the highest of that group. From Joe, do I start Deshaun Watson, or do I risk not playing him and waiting for Kyler Murray? That's a great question, actually. I feel pretty confident that Kyler Murray is going to play. I do have Kyler Murray ranked ahead of Deshaun Watson. But in your scenario, I think I'd probably just start Watson. I don't have a huge difference in my projections for them. It feels disgusting to bench Kyler Murray, but, you probably just want to take the bird in the hand. That's sort of how it goes. At this point, given COVID concerns, given Murray's shoulder injury, I don't know. I'd probably just start Watson, even though I'm ranking Murray higher right now, given the uncertainty when you have another option like that. Also, why do you have both of those on your team? Do you have a trade deadline? Has it passed? If not, figure that one out. From JDA, PPR flex, Landry or Noah Fant? Okay, let me check PPR, because PPR, it's a little different, because I do expect Landry to make up some of the difference there. And I have Landry ahead. Again, I talked about it with the wide receivers. I don't have confidence in Landry, but we're talking about Noah Fant here. It's not somebody, for the most part, unless you're sort of a top flight tight end, of which there are few, I'm almost always going to lean wide receiver in PPR. From Chris Rooney, PPR, McKissick or Peterson? That's McKissick. Hey. Clara is played by Mary Steenburgen.
She was on that.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Awesome. Amazing. Sorry, guys. I had to answer the question of who played Clara in Back to the Future 3. The kids have watched now Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 over the last couple of weeks, and they like to know actresses. Mary Steenburgen, fine performance as Clara, okay? Clara Clavin or whatever it was. Clayton. Clara Clayton. Crazy. Anyway, I'm very sorry about that. PPR, McKissick, or Peterson. There I will go McKissick, certainly in PPR. You've got to go there, but even in half PPR, I'd still lean McKissick. From JL, Bernard or Gallman? There I'll go Gallman. We're at the situation, we're at the scenario where Gallman is somebody who you can trust. Now, I have Gallman right now at 22. Listen to the Mega Pod yesterday when I talked about it with Tags, when I talked about it with Yates. They have him much higher. I think 15th, 17th, something like that. So I have made a note to myself that I will re-examine my ranking of him. But for right now, it's 22. I feel pretty comfortable with that. Either way, that's a guy who you're starting over Gio Bernard at this point. From Michael Hickson, Devontae Parker or Robbie Anderson? Sorry, I'm getting messages all over the place, so I'm just checking that. Sorry. Devontae Parker or Robbie Anderson. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, Devontae Parker. Did you say the... You did not say the format. Okay, so I'm going to assume that it's half PPR. I have Robbie Anderson 24th and Devontae Parker 27th. If it's Tua. If it's Fitzpatrick, then it would be Devontae Parker ahead of him. But for now, I would go Robbie Anderson. From Julian P., would you start Duke or wait for Gus White or Hines? This is my question, Julian P. Very good question. That I'm starting Duke. I'm just starting him because I can't wait at this point for the real possibility that Steelers-Ravens game is going to be postponed. I just can't. White, I don't feel comfortable enough with James White. I've talked about it with the guys. It's just not me. Fine. And Hines, there's just no way. I would take Duke. Hopefully he finds the end zone. Hopefully they lean on him a little bit. Hopefully Laramie Tunsil being back helps the offensive line. So we'll go with that. From T. Williams, Pittman or Robinson, we're not in the scenario where we are thinking of starting Michael Pittman Jr. over Allen Robinson. We're just not. We're not in the same vicinity right now. And I love Michael Pittman Jr. I'll defend until the cows come home, but he's still like wide receiver 3 territory. Allen Robinson is at worst wide receiver 2 territory. So we're not there. Go with Robinson. From Joel C., pick 2. Woods, Evans, or Marvin Jones. You're definitely starting Woods for sure. Let me see, because I was just moving Evans down a little bit, but I still have him ahead of Marvin Jones. So there, I would bench Marvin Jones there. Man, I hate making the Thanksgiving call. Fun story. One of my first real articles as I started to get involved in it was I wrote a start-sit column, and one of my sits was on Thanksgiving, Marvin Jones going up against the Vikings and Xavier Rhodes, and he scored 2 touchdowns. And I got such hate messages from that. I have saved those emails, not to look at them, just because in case those guys ever come at me now and ask me for fantasy advice, I'm just going to be like, psh, remember this email? I don't forget. Sorry. Anyway, I would bench Marvin Jones in that scenario. From Fediwap, Derek Carr, or Lamar Jackson. Okay. This is something where it sounds disgusting, but I don't have it all that close. It's Derek Carr for me. Derek Carr is 7th in my rankings. Lamar Jackson is 11th. Again, we also don't know whether or not that game's going to be played, but regardless, it's hard to see Derek Carr in this game against Atlanta. So it's not that close to me. I'm starting Derek Carr. From Kobe Carr, J.D. McKissick, Ronald Jones, or Kalen Ballage, pick 2 in full PPR. This is really tough because we do not know the situation for the Chargers. We don't know if Austin Eckler is going to come back. If Austin Eckler wasn't going to come back this week, and I still kind of doubt he is, I'm still leaning towards he's not going to be active, then I would start Ballage, assuming that he's healthy. I know he's battling a little bit of an injury. But I would start Ballage. It's pick 2. I'm so sorry. Okay, pick 2 for those guys. Okay, if you're picking 2, then I have McKissick ranked the lowest, actually, in full PPR. I'm sorry I misread that, Kobe. I would start J.D. McKissick today, even though I don't feel great about him, but you want to lock that in case Ballage maybe can't go or Austin Eckler plays. But realistically, they were all playing on the same day. I'd bench McKissick. If not, I would go, since it's Thanksgiving, I would go with McKissick now, lock in the points that you can. Then I would go with Ballage second, assuming Austin Eckler does not play. If Austin Eckler does play, then I would probably go with Ronald Jones. It's kind of a tricky one. Sorry about that. From Eric Sontag, would you rather go with the Giants DST or the Washington DST? I've got to go with the Giants here. If you're going up against the Bengals with Brandon Allen, with that offensive line, with them coming off some rest, I've got to go with that. From Jameson Woodruff, Adrian Peterson or Antonio Brown in half PPR. I believe I have Brown higher, but I updated my rankings right before we went live. So I need to double check to make sure I didn't move Peterson ahead, but I'm almost positive I have Brown ahead. So again, I wouldn't surprise me if Adrian Peterson found the end zone in this game against the Texans, but I'm still avoiding it if I can, and I would start Antonio Brown in half there. From Pavi Soda, would I start Hunt or Godwin there? I'll start Hunt. Almost always, if I know I've got a top 12 running back, I'm going to start him over somebody at least like Godwin, who's now in the wide receiver 2 conversation. From the Wordos, half PPR, DJ Chark or Michael Pittman. Mike Glennon as a starting QB has me concerned. It has me concerned too, but are we really concerned more so than when we were with Jake Luton at quarterback? I knocked him down a couple of spots, but even with my latest update, I still have Chark pretty significantly ahead of Michael Pittman Jr., so I would go with Chark. From Garrett Taylor, would you rather start Austin Hooper or Evan Ingram in standard? I am going to go with Evan Ingram by a spot. Ingram is 7th. Hooper is 8th, both in half PPR. and standard. From Chris Timmons, CeeDee Lamb or Travis Fulgham. In PPR, I'm going with CeeDee Lamb, and it ain't all that close. I can't rely on Travis Fulgham at this point. I just can't. I know it's a great matchup, but until we see it, I'm basically have him at borderline wide receiver 4. Lamb is much higher for me, so I would go with him. From Daryl Payne, for playoffs, what are the DSTs that should be stashed ahead of time? Oh, man, I had this the other day. Seahawks, for sure. They have a ton of great matchups. I don't have them off the top of my head. Stash the Seahawks if you can. They have good matchups. I believe the Browns have a couple of really favorable matchups. I think in week 15 and 16, they get the Giants and the Jets, if I'm not mistaken. So those are the two that I have been stashing, especially the Seahawks, whose defense is playing a little better. And I know the passing, defense is not great, but they're getting more pressure on the quarterback. They are playing a little better. So really the Seahawks, who are pretty widely available. From Michael Wagner, PPR, Balaj or Jefferson, go with Jefferson. Regardless, just go with Jefferson in that scenario. Balaj is a little banged up. We don't know about Austin Eckler, of course. If Eckler sits, Balaj is a full go. I wouldn't kill you if you went with Balaj, but for me, it's Jefferson there. From Slick Gamer 12, Hines, Myers, or Kupp. I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. From Evan T, with Swift out in PPR, Flex 1, Fant, McKinnon, Lev Bell, or Golden Tate. Man, all right, just came across Larry Fitzgerald has tested positive for COVID-19. I just saw the tweet from Mike Garofalo. Okay, so that is one player on Arizona who has tested positive. But unfortunately, we love Larry Fitzgerald. It's not as if anybody was probably relying on him in fantasy. But this is why, if you've got a close call right now, you've got to start him. You've got to start him on Thanksgiving. It's why I'm starting Duke Johnson. We don't know. The COVID-19 is getting worse. I'm not breaking any news by explaining that teams are going to have outbreaks. If you've got a close call, just take it now. Lock in your points if you can. Okay, sorry. So Flex 1 in, what was it? PPR, Fant, McKinnon, Le'Veon Bell, or Golden Tate. Oh my God, this is a terrible one. Okay, so this part of it depends on whether or not, if Raheem Mostert does not return, then it's clearly McKinnon who you're going to get away with. If not, I'll probably go Noah Fant in PPR. That's where I have higher. I just can't trust Le'Veon Bell's work and against the Bucks, so I'll go with Fant. From Rajesh S, Godwin or Cooks, I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks there, not by a ton. Again, this is a close one where I do have Cooks ranked higher anyway. I have him a couple spots higher, but this is one where you would go with Cooks just to lock in the points. Just do it. If that's where it is, if you're within a couple spots, if you check my rankings, Dan Harris 80 on Twitter, and it's close, lock in your production today. By the way, if you're watching this on Thanksgiving, not that a big deal, but my son will appreciate it if you like our video right now. If you like this live stream, I'm going to show my son how many got. I'm going to give him 83% of the credit, and subscribe if you like. That'd be great. That helps us out. You subscribe, you like, click the notification button so you get notified whenever we do this. Will Fuller or Mike Evans PPR? I'm going with Will Fuller. Okay, that's not also particularly close in my rankings, but regardless, that's one where you want to lock in the points. From EA, start 2.5 PPR. Jonathan Taylor, Allen Robinson, AB, Boyd, and Gio. Okay, well, we're starting Allen Robinson without question in half PPR. From there, it's going to be close as to whether or not I'm going to start Antonio Brown or... All right, I have Taylor ranked the highest, slightly over Antonio Brown. I know, it's risky, but hopefully we saw the turning point last game. It's another good matchup, so I would go with Jonathan Taylor slightly, and I have him over Gio Bernard, who's of course dealing with a concussion, and Boyd. From Will, hello to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in, or madam. PBR, sit two. Okay, Claypool, Juju, Rager, Pittman, and Rojo. I will sit Rager for sure. And if it's PPR, I will sit Rojo, I think. Let me see in PPR. Hold on. Let me see if it's him. Yes, it is him slightly. I will sit Rojo as the other one, slightly behind Pittman. From Eddie Wolf, how do you feel about owners leaving Taysom Hill at the tight end position? So I've had a lot of questions about this, actually. I know ESPN stripped away Taysom Hill's tight end position. A lot of people are saying that it seems like if you did not make any changes to your lineup, you just left it in from week 11 to week 12, you were allowed to leave Taysom Hill as a tight end. And ESPN didn't dock you. I don't like it. I don't like it's not technically against the rules, so I can do it. Like, come on, man. This is an honorable game. Don't anger the fantasy karma gods. So I'm against it. At the same time, I don't really think there's anything you can do as a commissioner. I think you're kind of stuck for that. From Zarek Gurley, would you start Miles Sanders or Antonio Gibson PPR? So this is sort of my classic answer. I have Miles Sanders slightly ahead of Antonio Gibson this week. Slightly, okay? Gibson's a great start. But again, when you're in that situation, do you want to just take the guaranteed points? It probably behooves you to do that, okay? So there's nothing to suggest that there's any outbreak at all with the Eagles or that game is anything in danger. There was nothing to suggest as of 10 minutes ago that Larry Fitzgerald was going to test positive for COVID-19, okay? We have no idea. I'd probably just take the guaranteed points with Gibson. If you have a higher risk tolerance than I do, or if you have a decent backup, I do have Sanders ranked higher. But again, bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I think that's what it's called, and that's probably what I would do. From Vivian M, Connor or Montgomery in half PPR, I would still start Connor in that scenario. Montgomery is a solid RB2 this week, but again, Connor at this point, I'm still rolling out there. A little lower than usual, but still as a higher RB2. From Hyped, Matthew Stafford or Derek Carr. That's Derek Carr. That's not particularly close with me. From Flippa, Duke Johnson or Wayne Gallman if Gaskin is out. I'd probably start Wayne Gallman regardless. Hey, kid, you're coming back for seconds? Come back for another one? I'd start Wayne Gallman in that scenario over Duke Johnson. I have him a couple spots higher. Do you want to see yourself? Is that what you want? Hold on. There he is. How you doing?
Good.
What are you guys doing down there?
Just watching the parade.
Watching the Macy's Day Parade?
Yeah.
Did you see the Hamilton one?
No.
Oh, the Hamilton performance, yeah. We like Hamilton in this spot. All right. Yeah, what's up? Me and my guy. Duke Johnson, right?
Yeah.
All day long, Duke Johnson. All right, I got to answer some questions, bud. I know. From Max Major 76, PPR, Cooks or Hunt? Ooh, I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. Hunt's going to factor in, even in PPR. You okay? So I would still go with Hunt in that scenario. From Zach Russell, Mike Evans or Tyler Boyd in full PPR?
Mike Evans.
That's the correct answer. Mike Evans. Well done. You want to show him where I have Mike Evans?
Mike Evans is 26.
You want to show him where I have Tyler Boyd?
Tyler Boyd is 33.
Yep. Let's go with Mike Evans. Lamb or Higgins from Jake Kuhn? All right. Here, Will, you can answer this one. Lamb, they want to know who is, CeeDee Lamb. No, you're wrong. It would be Higgins if they had Joe Burrow, but because they don't have Joe Burrow, I'm going with, yes. CeeDee Lamb, correct, is the right answer. T. Higgins, where is he?
Is 42.
T. Higgins, 42. So I'm going with CeeDee Lamb. Start him up. From Keith Crosby, Cook, Gurley, or Gallman at PPR flex. Cooks, Gurley, or Gallman. I want to see. I believe that's Cooks over Gallman in PPR. Yeah,
Wait, Cooks?
Cooks.
What do you mean?
Cooks. Not like somebody who cooks dinner, like Brandon Cooks.
Oh, Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks. Yeah, you know who he is, right?
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Brandon Cooks in full PPR. Go with Brandon Cooks. Enjoy yourself. Woods, Evans, or Marvin Jones, full PPR from Joel C. Pick two. Woods for sure. Woods. And I do have Evans over Marvin Jones. But man, do I hate picking against Marvin Jones on Thanksgiving. It's gross. Right? We don't like that. You know Marvin Jones scores touchdowns on Thanksgiving, but still, that's how I have it ranked.
Who cares? If Marvin Jones scores touchdowns.
Why would you say that?
I don't even know Mike Jones.
Marvin Jones, not Mike Jones. If his name was Mike Jones, we would say start him, but Marvin Jones we can't. From Aaron S., Pittman, Davis, or Myers at flex.
22 new messages.
I know. This is our producer who is doing yeoman's work. Do you know what that means?
No.
It means a lot of work. So I'm going to assume that's Corey Davis, by the way, and I do have him the highest over Jacoby Myers and Michael Pittman Jr., but they are extremely close. From Diego F., Cousins, Dalton, Rivers, or Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones.
I think that's right, actually. I believe Daniel Jones is higher in my rankings, and he is. Daniel Jones is your answer, Diego F. Woo, good job. From Winkle 1, Gus Edwards or Antonio Brown in full PPR. In full PPR, let's go with Antonio Brown, right? He plays for the Bucks. So it's for the Bucks. Anybody on the Bucks, Will says to start, right? They want you to come on board and work at Fantasy Pros and be a new analyst. What do you think? You could tell people who to start or sit? Are you in for that? He's in. His first job. No, his first job was clean your room and I'll give you $1. So that's good. I know, because you haven't cleaned your room in like 4 years. Okay. $2? Go do it again. I'll give you $4. What?
No.
This is how I dad. Brittany B, full PPR, bench 1, Zeke, Gibson, Sanders, Jacobs. Really?
I would only do it for $1,000.
I guess you got to bench. Gibson in that
Yeah,
scenario.
Gibson.
Well, actually, here's the deal. What I said before about Sanders, to guard against any sort of thing happen, if you can start all 3 of those guys, probably just start Gibson. And then of the remaining ones, I would bench. And Zeke's going to start today too. I probably would then just go and then bench Sanders. That's probably how I'd play it, just to be safe. I don't want to leave one and then be left in a situation. And all those guys are within a couple of spots. So although I do have Gibson as the lowest ranked guy for me, I would probably start him right now and look to bench Sanders just to guard against any COVID-19 outbreaks. From Spencer Russell, do I start McKissick or wait for Eckler? Oh, man. If those are your only 2 options, I would just start McKissick. Unless there's a report today about practicing and he's good to go, you can wait because it's a late game. So I would wait. But unless we know that he's a go, I would just go with McKissick, even though I don't love him. From JFE44, full PPR, Hines, Boyd, Drake, or Crowder.
Are we almost done?
We are almost done, bud. We end at 12. I could probably be done sooner if you let me answer some questions. You want to do that?
Okay.
You don't have... You
finish all of those questions?
I can't possibly answer all of those questions right now.
You have 90
I would go, in full PPR, I would go JFE44 with Kenyon Drake. From James Vaughn, half PPR, Deontay Johnson, Montgomery, or Rojo in my flex. It's not Rojo. It is, I have Deontay Johnson the highest right now. Slightly ahead of Montgomery. But Montgomery's Deontay. From Black, 7777, Gus Edwards, Gio Bernard, or Mostert in half PPR.
Why 7777?
That's just his name, man. I don't make the rules. I just answer it. I would go there with Gus Edwards. They can make whatever names they want. You think of what your name would be. Hawks. He likes Hawkeye. Okay.
Hawks.
From Jesse Chavez, Fuller, Juju, or Kenyon Drake in my flex standard. You think it's Will Fuller? It's not. It's not Juju. That's for sure.
Is it Will Fuller?
It is Will Fuller. Will Fuller is the right.
Will Fuller V.
Comic God says Tom Holland is doing a Back to the Future reboot. I think that's Spider-Man. I think he's going to be Back to the Future. Our producer's not happy about that.
Why?
He just doesn't like it. Original Back to the Future. That's where our producer, Chris, K-R-I-S, by the way, will tell them, say, like and subscribe. Can you say that?
Like and subscribe.
No, into the mic.
Like and subscribe.
Okay, that's too loud. Like and subscribe for this kid, okay? On Thanksgiving, this is what we're doing. From Pedro Rios, start Taysom Hill, Matt Ryan, or Matthew Stafford. I am going to start Taysom Hill in that scenario. Ryan,
Taysom Hill.
yeah,
That's
you love Taysom Hill.
than
From Ryan Ness,
Tom Brady.
standard, Wayne Gallman, Ahmed, or Jonathan Taylor. I would probably start Wayne Gallman if Ahmed is fully healthy.
Ahmed. Who's Ahmed?
God, this is my life. Ahmed, if it's fully healthy and
Who's Ahmed though?
Gaskin is out, then I might lean Ahmed there, but certainly for now I'm leaning Gallman, certainly over Taylor. Okay, calm down. From It's Hockey Time, PPR, DJ Chark or Marvin Jones? I still have DJ Chark slightly higher.
Yeah,
You're very happy. Yeah, you did. I have DJ Chark 2 spots higher, but it's very close. Yes. Lazaro, level of concern for Cincy receivers, high. Tyler Boyd is my highest ranked Cincy receiver, and he's 33rd at this point, and I'm basically not playing T. Higgins. Very high, so I would look for other options, yes. From Nassim, Taylor or Montgomery, half PPR, I will go with Montgomery. Ooh, we're going to go rapid fire. Sorry, producer. I know you hate this, but rapid fire for me. From Mary Dunn, PPR, start Allen Robinson or Chris Carson. Let's start Allen Robinson in that scenario.
Rapid fire.
Meaning I'm going to answer them quick.
Why does your producer not like it?
Because he can't keep up. It doesn't matter. He's the best producer. The best producer ever. Chris, best producer. Thanks, Chris. Okay, sorry. Allen Robinson in PPR, I would start over Chris Carson this week. From Hectic Tangent, full PPR, pick 2, Mike Davis, Zeke. Julio or Robbie Anderson. I will probably just bench the receivers in this scenario. If Julio Jones were fully healthy, he would start. But without it, I'm starting Zeke for sure. So you're starting him today.
Z.
But I'd probably bench the 2 receivers in this scenario. From Jaron Walker, Amari Cooper, or Michael Pittman, I'll start Amari Cooper, and I won't be all that worried about it. From back-to-back questions, Santiago Sierra, Cooper or Pittman. Same answer this time. I will start Amari Cooper for sure. DeAnthony Green, Standard League, David Montgomery or Duke Johnson. There I'll go David Montgomery. That is, again, the scenario where my projections are close enough where if you want to go safer, you can start Duke Johnson. But
Duke Johnson.
This is also the scenario where I'm looking for an excuse to not start Duke Johnson. Because even if he goes off, fine, but I'm too scared because of the fact that I don't want my Thanksgiving ruined. You know when your fantasy player stinks, ruins our whole Thanksgiving. We don't want that. We've got cookies and chocolate pie and everything to eat coming up soon. But I would go with Dave Montgomery in that scenario. From Steve Lockett, Drake, or McKissick PPR, I will go with Drake there. From Benjamin Chavez, Amari Cooper, or Tyler Boyd, I'll go Amari Cooper. Again, concerned about the Cincinnati wide receivers. From Mr. Richard G, CH or James Conner, I will go with James Conner in that scenario, especially if Brandon Williams is out or Calais Campbell, or the defense is still sort of dealing with all of that. CH, it's just a terrible matchup. You guys know we can't count on the workload. Not a huge difference for me, but I would go with James Conner. And we'll know on Sunday whether or not that game's going to be played, thankfully. So, okay, let's finish up. We've got how much? 4 minutes. I will get to as many questions as I can. From Gary, you're good?
No, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. I'm so sorry. From Gary Mandel, Herbert or James Robinson, PPR Superflex. Wow. What do you think about that?
Wait, what?
So Superflex is the type of leagues where you can start a quarterback for like a position. So where do I have Justin Herbert in a Superflex league?
6.
And where do I have James Robinson?
James Robinson is 32.
Now it is PPR, so I get it. But I would still start Justin Herbert. I can't bench Justin Herbert even in a PPR league, Superflex. But that's a great question. From Super Hornet, Hawkinson or Ebron? This is Hawkinson, 3rd ranked tight end. Don't overthink it. Okay, get him in there. Ebron is 12th for me. But Hunter Henry is what number?
6.
Did you want to know where Hunter Henry was? Will's got your back. 6th. Okay. Travis Kelce's number 1. I'm going on a limb. Travis Kelce number 1. From MDS Napa, half PPR, Carson or Taylor? Napa. There I will go Carson.
Carson Wentz.
Not Carson Wentz. Although if you're in the Superflex league, I would start Carson Wentz over both those guys. Thank you, Will. Very good. We're talking about Chris Carson, the running back for Seattle, who's going to return on Monday night.
Boo.
Why boo?
I don't know.
You have very strange opinions, young man. Get a hold of yourself. I will go Chris Carson there. From Luke AV, Slayton or Aguilar? PPR, please. Okay, hold on. This is actually very close. I want to check PPR. Thank you for asking so nicely, guys.
We have 2 more minutes.
Tell him. Nelson Aguilar is what?
46.
Darius Slayton is what?
47.
47. Nelson Aguilar by 1. I see.
minutes.
We've got 2 more minutes. Everybody, these people are so nice. They came to see us on Thanksgiving. Wave to them. We're not leaving yet, but say nice things. From Anthony S. PPR Flex, Marvin Jones or Michael Pittman Jr. We are going to go with Marvin Jones in that scenario. I can finally recommend him because he's probably going to score 8 touchdowns. No, boo. From Dosser, 1962. Is that your birthday?
No.
If he's 1962, I want you to figure out how old he or she is. Happy Thanksgiving from Scotland.
Go.
Wow. 2 running backs, Zeke, Miles Sanders, or Mike Davis in full PPR. You are starting Zeke. And should you start, what do you think, Mike Davis or Miles Sanders in full PPR?
Mike Davis. No, Mike Sanders. I would start Mike Davis, though.
All right, Will would start Mike Davis. I would start Miles Sanders. In PPR, same exact projections, so you can't go wrong. But if you have to pick one, I will go with Miles Sanders. From Gabe Carnes, Cooks or A-Rob in PPR.
I don't care if they're supposed to get less or more.
Why do you answer these things? I hate recommending benching Brandon Cooks, but I do have Allen Robinson 1 spot ahead of him. Okay. It is 12, guys. Thank you so much for joining me again. If you haven't, click like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Will and I and everyone here at Fantasy Pros really appreciates it We hope you have an absolutely wonderful Thanksgiving. Yes, say happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Again, you can find me on Twitter at DanHarris80. Feel free to hit me up with questions. Check my rankings there. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Eat some turkey.